What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're a catalyst for meaningful conversation. I'm Jonathan Sprang, and I go by Sprang, and most weeks we dive into movies to watch in preparation for a new release hitting theaters. But we don't stop there. We talk about the morals, the values, and the life lessons these movies have to offer. This week we're talking about unfriendly neighborhood fighting guys. These are your vigilantes that are out for justice to help people that cannot help themselves. So we watched the Equalizer films and we watched Nobody, all in preparation for Nobody 2 dropping Friday. And we've got a guest on, Mr. Jeff Anderson. He is a friend of mine, so looking forward to that conversation. We hope you'll go check out our website. It's bio.site/moviesthatmakeyou. There you'll find all of our links to all of our social media channels on YouTube, Instagram, and elsewhere. You can also find our podcast links to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also check out our letterbox, which shows you all of our lists on the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream, and everything in between. Before we dive into this week's episode, though, let's take a look at the next 4 weeks on the Movies That Make You podcast. Next week, we've got X-Men. The boys watched the X-Men films from the Fox universe all over the summer, and they talk about all 10 films. It's a long one, but it's a fun one. We hope you'll join us for that. The week after that, they're going to be releasing Jaws in theaters for its 50th anniversary. So the boys are going to watch it for the first time. We're going to record the entire thing from start to finish and get all of their reactions, and we'll post it as a sort of like video commentary that the boys are providing as they respond to all the things that they see in the movie Jaws by Steven Spielberg. The week after that, Kristen's going to join us for the Conjuring series, and also Papa Goss is going to be back on the show. We're very excited for that as we discuss the Conjuring proper movies. That's 1, 2, and 3 in preparation for Last Rites dropping that Friday. The week after that, it's our 100th episode, and we're going to be going live September 6th. 12 p.m. Central, we will be shooting our live episode, our first live episode with the boys, and we are excited for that. Jacob's going to be joining us all the way from Montana, and each one of us, including Mom, will be on camera and on microphone in order for us to have a fun 100th episode. We'll be talking about the boys' top 5 favorite movies of all time. You won't want to miss it. September 6th, 12 p.m. Central. Be there. Hope those episodes excite you. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. I am Sprang, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Jeff Anderson, J.A. What is up, my brother? How's it going?
My man. Always good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I'm excited to have you on the show today. We're going to be talking about Nobody. We're also going to be touching on the Equalizer films with Denzel Washington, all this and gearing up for Nobody 2 that drops this Friday. Very excited for that. But before we jump into that, I want our audience to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about when movies started to play a part in your life. Like how old were you, and kind of what were the first movies that kind of really grabbed your attention?
I don't know that I remember the age, and I'm kind of glad I don't, because if I did, then I would put age on my shirt when it's called. But So my father and I growing up, we used to listen to Richard Pryor records. And so one day my father decided, you know what, I think you're mature enough to where let's watch a Richard Pryor movie. And so we got a chance to watch Which Way Is Up. And it's this movie where Richard Pryor plays the better part of 3 characters. And so you're watching the range of like an iconic comedian as a kid. And it like transcended his stand-up comedy. And so, I mean, upon reflection, you're like, how the hell did a movie like make his stand-up comedy even more intriguing? Right. But it was all because you realized he was such a great actor, right, in that process. And some folks may say he didn't have much range. It's like, you have to understand, like, the guy wasn't an actor by nature, but he's able to just captivate you in these kind of segments. So that was one. The other one growing up was Scarface with Al Pacino. And for a little bit of a different reason, when that movie was over, and it was long, but when that movie was over, it was kind of nearing the end of it. And it was almost like I snapped out of it and realized I wasn't watching a documentary. I was watching a fictional depiction of something. Like, that's how good the acting was. And like, I remember like trying to go in front of a mirror and act the way that I was watching like Al Pacino act. It's like, it was impossible. I mean, the guy he was Cuban for like 3 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was pretty memorable to me. So, I mean, I would tell you that those were the two that I think spawned a different movement for me in terms of interest in wanting to watch movies.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first Richard Pryor movie I remember seeing was most likely Superman 3, which wasn't necessarily a great movie, but he was funny in that role. He was funny in that role. But I remember Hear No Evil, See No Evil with him and Gene Wilder. I remember watching that one like on TBS or something. And so I've seen a couple of those. I haven't seen the Which Way Is Up, so I'm going to put that on my list to make sure I check that out.
But yeah, that's a must do.
Scarface, man, that is incredible movie. I think I saw it after I'd seen Godfather, and so it was like he had kind of his whole demeanor had grown and matured too between those. Like he's super young in Godfather, but you see him grow in his like. Of course, his character's growing, but he's growing as an actor. And then you pick up Scarface, and he's this like, I mean, he's just a force of nature in that film, and it's just, yeah, those are some great movies, man. I think for me, I've shared it on the podcast before, but a couple of the movies that really impacted me at a young age was Star Wars. Obviously, I was right at that time. Indiana Jones was pivotal to me growing up as well, because it was like kind of that same just action adventure style that my parents could let me watch, and it wasn't too bad. And then I think another one that kind of forced me to really examine, like, want to know more and more about movies was actually Mission Impossible. A friend of mine was kind of walking me through like what it takes to make a film, and that one was a movie that we watched, and he kind of broke it down, and we like pause and talk about scenes and stuff, and so it was like kind of opened my eyes to seeing like the behind the scenes aspects. And I think that was also right at the time where DVDs started coming out with special editions and and it was like the perfect timing for me to like be able to actually get these discs and take that second disc and just go to town and like figure out how they pulled everything off. And of course, to this day, like Mission Impossible being one of those where Tom Cruise has just continued to amp up the stunts and the things that he's putting himself through. The boys, we went and watched that. They really liked that, the most recent one that came out this summer. But yeah, man, those are a couple of the films that kind of grabbed me. And I'm sharing those films with the kids. And is there a film? I love that you brought up the fact that your dad was kind of instrumental to your movie watching there early on. Are there any movies that you have shared with your kids that kind of have that same dynamic that you felt from your dad?
Oof. So this is interesting
I know I'm putting you on
because
the spot.
yeah, no, well, so like I've got 3 daughters, and so 2 are at an age where you can comfortably let them listen to like a Pryor, or maybe one of the other comedians that you like. And so I would start by saying that 2 of my daughters had to be subjected to Harlem Nights several times, but obviously it wasn't. They weren't kicking and screaming. Like if they were, they were doing it in laughter. So just to get exposure to the talent, because it's kind of taboo to, as a parent, seemingly want to show your children content that may have adult language, if you will. There wasn't a lot of sexual content, maybe periodically, maybe some sexual innuendos, but nothing that you couldn't explain out as a parent, so to speak. So believe it or not, I kind of deem those appropriate at a certain age, so that you could kind of talk them through things, and without calling cursing taboo, they could just kind of appreciate an art of how people were doing things. So Harlem Nights was definitely one. I did expose them all to Which Way Is Up just by default. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
With that said, though, I mean, I think just kind of over the years, as they were growing up, we were like organically subjecting ourselves to a movie. When you're when you're a dad that's a career father, you don't spend as much time with your kids during the week as maybe a stay-at-home mother or a stay-at-home father maybe does. And so you try to figure out pockets when you can do it. And so we watched what's the movie with with Will Smith where it was just him and a dog?
Yes. I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Remember?
Yeah.
So it was I Am Legend, and I didn't really know what it was about. Like it was Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He had another movie preceding that was pretty good. So we're just like, we'll give it a go. And my middle daughter and we went to watch it, and it was interesting at that age. She was, and everybody will be mortified on your podcast. She was 12 at the time, and we both walked out with two totally different experiences. And she didn't exhibit what her experience was up front. My experience was that was one of the best acting like sessions I've watched. Like he turned into that character, and for the better part of an hour and a half, I thought this guy was just in some desolate city and nothing but zombies were with him and a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And here was my 12-year-old that was she was mortified. She just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like nothing could have been scarier. Like, I don't know if I can get that out of my dreams. And so we had to kind of talk through that. And then fast forward, she's in college, and I'm randomly talking to her, and she says, all right, well, I'm going to watch I Am Legend. So yeah, it's really good. My roommates have never seen it, and I'm like, you have to. It's one of the best movies. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And so that to me was kind of a good indication that it ended up being a good selection after all.
Exactly.
I would tell you that anybody that gets an opportunity to see some of the more like iconic series, you're gonna walk away with something meaningful, right? Whether it's the Godfather series, you mentioned Star Wars. I think Mission Impossible to some extent fits into that mold. I think Marvel has done a great job with the Avengers. So just that content around, I think they've done, all those producers have done such a masterful job. John Woo Matrix. I mean, pick one. I mean, you may get tired after a while, but by and large, there's these great storylines. There's a believability to what you're watching, and you're entertained, but you're also appreciative of the art of acting, kind of when it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's some good stuff, man. Good stuff. And speaking of the art of acting and being believable, Nobody came out in 2021. Bob Odenkirk plays Hutch Mansell. And this one came out after he had already kind of made a name for himself in the Breaking Bad series. So for those of you that may not know, Breaking Bad was a series that aired, and he played a character called Saul that was a really kind of one of those lawyers that you just kind of hear about in stories like this, that they know how to get around, the legalities of things. They know how to help people that are doing nefarious deeds, how to make sure that they don't get caught. Basically, that's kind of how he's introduced to us. Following that, they actually did a series called Better Call Saul, where it's kind of it's basically a kind of a prequel to Breaking Bad. So you're getting, he really was riding on this kind of this character and this lawyer who's smart and all that, but he's not the action star that you're expecting to see when you see a trailer for Nobody, and it's a bunch of fighting and gun, like, what is this guy doing? And so I think when I remember seeing the trailer for it and being surprised at the fact that that he's the star of this action film. And so I heard good things about it, but I didn't actually go and see it. I think you expressed similar response. You remembered seeing the poster or something, but hadn't seen it yet. So we watched it for this episode. So real quick, just share kind of your overall thoughts on the Nobody film.
First statement, must watch. That's the first thing that I would say. It's a must watch. My perspective on Nobody, I will argue, is invariably going to end up being similar to a lot of folks that didn't watch Breaking Bad, because I've yet to see a single episode. You go into it, it's blank canvas. And in one specific respect, you're about 10 minutes in, and you think you've just got this relationship, this marriage that's lifeless, sexless, and just like going nowhere. And like there's this energy amongst them that even like the wife at one point, like I didn't know if the movie was gonna like dovetail into a woman that's going to leave her husband because he's, in her eyes, like a nobody. And it ended up having a completely different layer to it. And so you don't know. And even in the inaugural component, when they were being robbed at home, you still hadn't quite gotten it. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe he could have done something, but you weren't sure, like, are we just dealing with a passive guy, a scared, timid father, and it's going to manifest itself in the form of the teenager growing up and acting out something, crazy. Like you just didn't know. And then all it took was that bracelet, and it was like, son of a, and then it's like, the whole movie shifted, and it was, it was action packed, but it actually had a level of humor that I don't know, and perhaps because I haven't seen any of the reviews on it, I would tell you that it has such a subtle level of humor. It just keeps you intrigued because it's action based, but you follow it. Like, sometimes you get in certain movies that are action and, there's action, but then they have lull periods where you might get up, go get popcorn, get something to drink. And like with Nobody, you kind of felt like, I'm just going to hang in here the whole way, right? Because you're laughing a little bit. You're trying to figure out like where this is going. And just overall, I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Everything you said was spot on. I remember being very like the scene that they showed them getting in bed and her having the pillows between them. Like I was just like this, and maybe because of our age and where we've been in life, that feels very relatable. Not relatable in the sense that I've ever experienced that, but I can know what that would feel like. Like that would be horrible. That's the feeling you get. And then I think, and one of the things that's interesting too is that he is, when you meet him, he's this mild mannered, like you said. You think he might be passive, he might be, a walk on. Everybody's, just walking all over him. Even his family, his sons, like in his kids' relationships, like they don't think he's anything worth giving their attention and love to. I mean, she's just like lost it. And then when he takes it upon himself to go and find that bracelet, and then further that all the action kind of picks in, it's like he finds his like his heart again. He finds um his passions back, and he's communicating more with his family. And it's like, while I wouldn't promote going and being violent to other people, in order to find love again in your marriage, for this movie, that is one of the things. It's like he's that was such a pivotal part of his life, early on, as we come to find out. And he had to put that aside because of the family. And now it's like, no, now I'm get to use this as a part of protecting my family. And it kind of like living in both worlds, I guess you could say. He's able to find that passion again, find that relationship again. And like I said, I wouldn't promote being violent to save your marriage, but for the movie, it felt like that he was finding a piece of himself again. And I could relate to that. There's a sense where for a while I was leading music at a church. That was my full-time job. I left that job, got a job at a mortgage company. I wasn't doing the music on the side. And so there's this sense where there's a part of me that's kind of missing. And then later on, I was able to put both things back and do the music thing at the church as a part-time thing. And so it's like this, I could live in both these worlds right now. And it was like a really kind of a relatable piece for me. Like that was something I can definitely, find myself in Hutch there for a second. So pretty fun.
Yeah,
any, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I hear what you're saying. He's like, I know I can do something, but it was almost like I swore myself not to anymore. But then you impacted his family. And I mean, I have this in my wheelhouse if I have to go to it, and you're forcing me there. Like if you leave them out, I can go back to just being the family man. Right. But if you force me to that lane, I can get comfortable in that lane. And it's cool because like he's got the buddy that he calls periodically, or the buddy kind of calls him, I think it was the RZA. And it's kind of laughable. It's like, you're supposed to be off the radar, dude. Like you're not supposed to come back. It's almost like there was like this sworn pact that you're not coming back. Same thing with the father. And it's just, but every one of them knew, it's like, okay, this isn't really him though. Right. Like, or even if you are to say that it's him, this family guy that's mild mannered and is passive, like the undercurrent of him is a monster. right? That you just, TNT, right? You just don't want to light that fuse. And man, when that fuse gets lit, I mean, you want to talk about a movie turning in a different direction. It's nobody.
Yep. What's one of the main moments you were like, that was the moment that kind of defined the movie for me, or the that you liked the most? One of the fight scenes or one of the other scenes. Which one stands out to you as being the one that you liked the most?
This isn't even a hard question for me. When he was seeking information from the guy, he goes in, I think it was like a pawn shop equivalent, and there was a veteran in there, and the guy behind the counter, he's asking him some questions, and I think he said like your ID's been expired for like 20 years. And then the guy behind the counter's got on brass knuckles, and Hutch flashes a wad of cash, and I'm just looking to try to get some information. And that part became epic for me, and it shifted it for me when the veteran saw the tattoo on his wrist, the 7 and the 2 of spades, which is like the kiss of death hand in Texas Hold'em. And you knew right then, it's like, oh, okay, this dude's an assassin. Like, it's like, and the veteran knew it. And it was so funny just to kind of watch this guy with the brass knuckles on with all this bravado that was almost suggesting, I'm about to take your wad of money. And then the veteran's like, thank you for your service. And then like tippy toes out like Peter Griffin from Family Guy, and like closes and locks the door, and then looks in like, oh, this isn't going to end well for you, bud. And it's like, okay, this is a problem. That was it for me. And I just chuckled at that point, knowing that this is about to go in a completely different direction. He's not a nobody.
For sure. Exactly. He is somebody that, I think the bus fight scene was really crazy for me. He's just sitting there, and then these guys come in and they're trying to attack this woman, and he's just like, and I think the other thing I find, it also sets the tone for what type of violence he is good at, or what type of, he's not like a Bruce Lee that's unstoppable, or that's just gonna take everybody out with clean precision. It's like, it shows you like, no, it's just raw, it's dirty, it's messy, but he's gonna win out in the end. But it's just like, that kind of sets the tone for kind of his fighting style, I guess you'd say. And then it just kind of escalates from there. But that just kind of, when you think about, I guess for me, that stood out just because it's not his family, but he knows he has to do something to help protect this person. Where the rest of it is, he's kind of on this mission, but it introduces his fighting in a unique way. So that was the one that stood out to me.
Yeah,
for sure. It's kind of like John Wick's style, in that like the guy is retired, he's doing the family thing, and then something brings him back in. That kind of comes to mind too. But I think there's also this connective tissue between Nobody and Equalizer, in that they both kind of promised not to do that anymore, not to be a part of that life. In the Equalizer, Denzel's character Robert McCall has also promised his now past wife that he's not going to be violent anymore, but something, a person that he encounters, a person that he finds, he begins to care for, in this young lady, Chloe, Grace Moretz plays a call girl, for lack of a better term, and he sees that she's being mistreated, and it kind of sets him on this path that he's like, you know what, I have to do something here. I can do something, so I need to step in and do something. And then the rest of the movie is him realizing that it wasn't just I remember a line in the film, it wasn't just 4 pimps. You attacked the Russian mob, like, and so it escalates from there, of course. But Equalizer, man, Denzel Washington, share your thoughts about that first Equalizer film.
Whew. You think about the body of work that Washington had preceding that first Equalizer movie, and then you watch the Equalizer one, and you emerge from it saying, oh, they got to do another one. Like, he was just that good, where like at the end of that movie, you're like, oh, they got to do a sequel. You didn't, I mean, you kind of reflected on what you watched. The content was just so extraordinary. You're like, okay, well, as long as that character is alive, you should do a movie about that character, right? Until he is assassinated, like that has to be a movie. And I think it even ended up, because I remember, I think at one point in my life, and I can't remember the actor's name, there was a show called The Equalizer. But he seemed like he was more like a detective, whereas like this one was like a true assassin, kind of turned civilian, turned back assassin for the, all the reasons that you mentioned. But the first one was just, again, I mean, it was so good. You were hopeful that they would do a follow up. I know that they're completely different movies, but I had the same experience when I saw The Matrix. Like when The Matrix was over, I'm like, okay, that was awesome. Like if I never see another Matrix, I'm fulfilled, but I really hope that they do another one because you can take this somewhere. And I don't know that they ever relived the effectiveness of the first one with all of their, kind of, twos and threes, so to speak. But it stood to reason, like the content was just so good, you had to see it again. Something that's equivalent. Yeah, that character was born. Robert McCall was like the Hulk, like Batman, like Superman, like it. You know what I'm saying? It became that iconic to have that kind of character.
Yeah, and I had to wear my Batman shirt for another vigilante that's out for justice too. Just like these two characters. But I'm with you, man. Like, and I remember the TV show. I don't know that I watched it a bunch, but I remember knowing of it and that it was on TV. When I was younger. But I don't remember any of the stories. But I'm with you. It was a lot less action, less violence. But you get Denzel Washington working with Antoine Fuqua, and you're like, this match just works. Antoine being director, he just has a great style. I think the first time I remember seeing them working together was what was that movie? I'm blanking on it. But he plays the cop that Ethan Hawke has to kind of ride along with.
Training Day.
Training Day, yes. And it's just it's not the same character, but the energy that Antoine brings in his directing style and the way that the finished product ends up is just, it's got so much energy and visceralness just within that. And then Denzel just being Denzel, the calm, mild-mannered dude that, and I think the standout for this too, it's very kind of Sherlock Holmesy as well, because he's calculated everything. He's a mathematician when it comes to like what he's going to do, and the way that they display that is just so beautiful. And the audiences are along for the ride, and they know exactly what's about to happen. But man, yeah, like that first movie, I think the one standout, I'll go first on this one if that's all right. The standout for me, the end of the warehouse scene when he's about to go off on the last guy, and it's just like the music hits, the slow-mo hits, and he's just walking out with a nail gun in a Home Depot. You're like, this is epic and awesome. I mean, it's just like, it had so much of those like epic fight scene vibes that you'd get in other action films, but it just hit like he is the superhero of this film.
Yeah, I mean, you talking about that dude turned Home Depot into Fight Club. Like it was like, how did this happen? It was definitely an epic moment going through that. I mean, there was a part in that scene where you thought maybe one of the assassins was going to get him after all, like where he was exhausted right from that particular fight. But I mean, the standout for me, I think you called it out already. The standout for me was the fight with the Russians, the initial one, right? That inaugural one in the movie where they had abused that prostitute, and he came in with the $9,800. And, the boss was seemingly he kept disrespecting him and calling it $9,000. And he's just demonstrating that he's like giving him grace. He's reminding him it's 9,800. And he's like, no, okay. And this, when he locks the door and he looks back over his left shoulder, you're like, yep, this is the dude. And then it's just you knew right then. I mean, and just oh my gosh, just the 19 or 16 seconds. And then the killing takes place. I think it took like 29 seconds, but the 29 seconds was he was basking at the last kill, and he looks over and he's like, 29 seconds, 3. Okay. I'm like, okay, this guy, this is gonna be a hell of a ride. Yeah, no, it was really good.
Absolutely. Such a good character. And I think you're right. I think you said it right. I think the episodic nature of it, that they could have just ridden this train for many sequels if they wanted to, because each one is just like he finds himself in another situation that needs his help, and he's going to step in and do it. And when you pick up at the second one, it's kind of like well, we did touch on it a little bit, but he had kind of put this life aside for his wife, but now he feels like he ends up at the end of the first movie, ends up putting an ad and just basically saying like, hey, if there's anybody that needs help, call this number and we'll help you. And so it's kind of like it's kicking off, like you said, this we got to see this again. What's the next people he's going to help? Um, so it kind of picks up in the second movie that you feel like, okay, he's continued down this path. He's going and helping people as they need it. He's now a Lyft driver that's helping people in kind of behind the scenes. And then he ends up, as he's trying to, as his kind of his handler from his government days gets killed, he ends up trying to track this down. So the story ends up being a little bit more focused on him, on his kind of character and the organization he's a part of. You get a lot more backstory there. But I think also the opening where he's the Lyft driver and the girl is abused and stuff, that ends up being a pretty intense scene with those guys too as well. But you have any thoughts on the second film?
Yeah, I would tell you, knowing that we'll likely talk about the third one, the point in Equalizer 2 that resonated with me the most was the part where he got the prior government assassin to admit that he killed his best friend. And he proceeds to walk out, meet the guys that he's killed with before, and he tells them what a grave mistake they made, and I'm going to kill you all. And the only thing I regret is that I don't get to do it again. And then the assassin's wife is like, hey, it was like, we got to go. And, he turns back and he's just like, think you can give me a lift, in there? And she's just like, help and company, come on. And it just, it spoke to just the believability of Robert McCall's wholesomeness. You're watching a movie full of killing, like cold-blooded, like retribution level style killing. And yet here's this guy that you find to be so wholesome and compassionate that's like, yes, please ride along, help with the kids. Like that would be awesome because you're just this awesome human being. And literally 15 seconds removed from that, he just basically put hits on the lives of the guys that are in front of it. It's just like, same guy?
Yeah.
Like, but that's what makes, that's the brilliance of this Robert McCall character. Is this guy is just, he's just caring. He operates with all this grace, but man, judge and juror, if it doesn't go the way he wants it, it's just, it's that part was cool for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I actually wanted to mention about even the first movie too, was there is so much heart, there is so much compassion in this character. And then the film, like even when all this violence is going on, you still have all this grace and compassion in the very next moment. And it's not the violence seemed like so justified in the film itself. But the fact that he's helping these people that cannot help themselves, it's like the big bully finally getting their due. Is what it feels like, because the way that the story unfolds is he's trying to help all the people at the store. He's trying to help everybody kind of become better persons, better versions of themselves, and that's what his goals are. And like you said, just a great human being. That this is just another side of him that he has to flip the switch if he needs to. And if you're going to be one that takes advantage of others, that kills people he cares about, that does anything outside of what he feels is deemed as necessary, then he's gonna be the avenger that comes back and takes your life for it. So pretty crazy. I do think that
Yeah.
the ending where the hurricane comes through and he's got to set up all the the sniper thing and all that was a really cool, in the sense of a movie being able to kind of give you a different flavor than maybe what we got in the first one in the Home Depot. The ending of this one happening in the middle of the storm was just, it was a really cool final confrontation between him and those guys.
It was definitely a cool ending. It was, however, for me, it was an ending that I wasn't quite willing to like bet or gamble on it. However, I did have this thought where I said, you know what? This actually might be the last Equalizer. They may set this up where he ends up killing all of them, but he gets killed in the process because, and I don't remember the kid's character, but the artist that he was really trying to tutelage, seemingly protect, was just a massive liability, like throughout, right? With his decision making, and just his fear. Like I think any common person would be fearing for their life as well. But McCall, all the while, is strategically killing these other assassins while ensuring that he's protecting the life of this innocent person. Dude, your life's at risk. The hurricane's coming. Like, come on, man, pick a lane at some point. Like, if you want to stay alive, and you're watching it kind of unfold, and you're like, he's going to end up taking a bullet, right? And then probably killing the person in the process, but then he's going to die in this kid's arm, and hopefully the kid grows up and becomes something, right? But it didn't turn out that way, which was cool. But but that was yet another example of just his altruism, right? And selflessness. Like, hey, I'm this cold-blooded killer, but I've got like compassion. It's almost like if you think back to the DC comics, Superman could be like kicking the ass of, all the enemies, and one enemy gets an innocent person like strung up and they're about to throw him off a building. And he's like, wait a minute. And then it's like, let me go save this person real quick. It's like, dude, you need to finish the deal over here. Like, let one die, save a million. And he's like, nope.
Right.
Nobody's left behind.
Not an option.
That was McCall in that scenario. So it was good.
Absolutely. And I think we did kind of jumping into the third movie. We pick back up. He's in Italy. But the other cool thing about Equalizer 3 is we get a reunion between him and Dakota Fanning, who they starred together in Man on Fire. Dakota played the young girl that he had to protect in that film, and that was one of a great film in and of itself. So it's really cool to get the Equalizer 3 and kind of have this reunion as well for those actors. Ends up that he has to take down an Italian mob in the process. And then it actually ends with him kind of sitting at the table and basically saying, I'm retiring, I'm done. And it's kind of the last Equalizer film. But what are your thoughts on the third one?
The first 10 minutes of Equalizer 3 are the best parts of that movie, because you get about 6 minutes of good old fashioned Robert McCall style killing, right? Of bad people. You're already set up, right? Your appetite is been, or your thirst, if you will, has been quenched, and you're just like, yes, I came to the right place for what I want. And then on the walkout, he's shot by that kid, and you're not sure where the movie's going. And in your mind, especially if you've watched movies over the years, traditionally the good guy ends up winning at the end. But, as some of us know, like Infinity War was the one that kind of showed us, bad guy won. And there was kind of a moment, to me at least, where I wasn't entirely sure that his health was going to enable him to save kind of that situation that he was watching unfold as he was recovering. You knew that there was an element of his recovery that was going to eventually have to address it, but it was the extent to which, he was going to be good enough. And worse, again, this is all in the 10 minutes. My mind goes to the aforementioned, 2 movies. You're like, that's the first careless decision that Robert McCall ever made. And you're like, is this it? Is this the one where they finally go, he's going to hang up the cleats? And it ended up going in a different direction, kind of as it wore on. So yeah, that first 10 minutes was super critical for me. And again, for me, the most important portion of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I just loved the combination of him and Dakota Fanning kind of being back and seeing them together. I think the commonalities of through the films with the tea and the hot water, and he's got his little table set up that he's got to do every time. It's just a fun insight into his character and his meticulous nature. that also then plays out all in the fact that he calculates the time it's going to take to finish off this room of bad guys. And so it's just a fun character, exciting. I mean, we watched these films when they first came out and loved them. I think when the third one came out, we rewatched the first two just to get geared up and see it again. And I do like the fact that each of them kind of have their own sort of set pieces and their own environment. The second one, like I said, it ends with the big hurricane scene. That's cool, and he's also giving us backstory into the people that he used to work with. In this one, it's a completely different country that he's being a part of, and so you get a lot more visually stimulating things being in the places in the mountains and the little towns that he's in. So it just adds a different flavor, but it's still the same Robert McCall, and he's gonna do what it takes to save the little guy and keep the big bad guys from taking over and hurting innocent people. So just a really fun series that Denzel did, and Antoine Fuqua as the directed all three. So it has that nice. It feels like a very complete trilogy, you know.
Definitely a complete trilogy, no doubt, no doubt. I'll be interested to see what 4 looks like. I mean, they probably need to pair them with Hutch, and they go on a
That would be awesome.
They go on a cleansing spree, right, in a country, if you will.
Yeah.
I'll at least end on my side on Equalizer 3. One other element to that movie that I loved was there's a piece where the physician that took him in while he was healing, kind of got that question of, are you a bad guy? And the response being like, I don't know. And yet, so, for the viewership, in your heart and your mind, in so much as this guy is like a cold-blooded killer, he's doing it under the guise of, just trying to be this hero, this quiet hero for others, but never really revealing himself as that hero. And so what didn't happen in the other 2 movies happened in the third movie. And that was, he would reveal his altruism to a singular person, like the security guard, the Home Depot woman, she didn't know, but she's just like, how do you get this back? Right. But it's like little pockets of an individual got the experience. The prostitute got the experience. That artist in the second one got that experience. The girl, I'm sure that he, took to the ER, sure she got it. But communities never got exposed to who he was. And it was that moment in the Italian restaurant when he addresses that gangster and he immediately, like, once he lets him go, he's like, okay, I need to kill him and everybody else that, represents him. And in that moment when they're kind of all in that area where they kill they're looking for him, and the community's like, no, he's one of us. Nope. He's one of the good guys. You're not killing him. And naturally you knew at that point, it was a foregone conclusion what was going to happen to that pit boss. It was like, you're done, dude. But I just, that third one, giving a community a chance to have a moment where his true colors were revealed, and they just accepted the fact that he's an assassin. He's a good human being. Like, no paradox with the community. They were totally good with, he's our savior. We're fine with that. So let's move on. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool piece to that puzzle. So props to the writer and props to how they directed that. I just thought that was great.
That is a great insight as well. That I had not put that together, but that's beautiful. Kind of expanding, but from the individual to the community. That's awesome. Very cool, man. Well, what other movies are you excited about that's coming out this year? Do you have anything on your radar that you're excited for?
I at this point in my life, I wait for an 8-year-old to say when, and then we're going to end up going to watch something. So no, I don't know that I have any, but there have been a couple of like series that have been mentioned to me. So like Breaking Bad's one, Billions is another one. And so, I'm wondering if after watching those, another one's The Wire. Like, I've never seen any of the Wire series.
Yes. Oh, man.
What I have a tendency to do is if I get ensnarled in a series, I'll grow an affinity to an actor or an actress, and then I'll just kind of look them up and see, well, what other work do they have? And if I haven't seen them,
Nice.
then
Yeah.
I may be compelled to watch something. So there's a very good chance that, as I emerge from watching a handful of those series, that I end up, trying to see if there's something else that I can watch. So there you go.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm similar in that way. And you mentioned for me a couple of top fivers, Breaking Bad, The Wire, definitely top 5 best in my top 5 best shows ever. One I would put on the list, and I think I have it as my number one, and probably not because it's the best, but it's like the one that if somebody asks me, what's a series that you should that they should watch, this is the one I tell them because it's not on a lot of people's radars, but it's called The Shield. Michael Chiklis plays Vic Mackey, who is a cop in L.A., in a Farmington part of L.A., and he is a dirty cop from the get-go. They wrote the show for him to be the villain, but audiences continue to root for him, and so it's this story, and it goes on for like I think it's 6 seasons. But each season, it's like he tries to kind of turn it around, but then he kind of gets pulled back into his old ways. But one of the reasons why I put it on my list number one and why I love it so much is that a scene from the first episode of the entire series is a single thread of conflict for the entire series. A lot of times, when a series kicks off, it's like that's resolved by season one, and then season two picks up, and now we have a new thing. In this series, that single thing that happens in episode one of the pilot is the same thing that ends up causing this huge thing on the finale. So
Wow.
it's really well done. It also stars Walton Goggins. He plays a character in that, and he's really big right now with White Lotus, and also in the Fallout show. He's kind of made a bit of a resurgence of popularity right now. But yeah, that show, Glenn Close plays a character in one of the seasons. It also has Forrest Whitaker in one of the seasons as one of the guys that's like trying to take him down. So it brings in these actors for a season to kind of pair off, like kind of be an adversary to Vic. But man, the twists and turns that show takes. And one other thing why I like it too is that the seasons aren't set by episodes. So a lot of shows, they'll have, these are 8 episodes, and every season's 8 episodes, and this one actually fluctuates based on the story that they need to tell. So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating show. The fact that the bad guy is the villain, or is the guy that you're rooting for throughout. We shouldn't be rooting for him, but it's just the way that they wrote it. It just made it that much intriguing to kind of see how is he going to get out of this situation. So really good show. So I would put that on your list if you don't have it already. Very cool, man. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, dude. Thanks for taking the time in your busy schedule to kind of jump on here and talk some movies.
Right on. Sounds good, man. Had a good time, man. Good to see you. Love to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Again, you can check out all of our links at bio.site/moviesthatmakeyou. Feel free to drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, keep watching movies.